Hey everybody. Hi. So here I am again. Today I'm going to be talking about pin looms. In case some of you aren't familiar with what a pin loom is or what types of weaving you can do on it, I'm going to go over just the makeup of a pin loom briefly and then show everybody how to do a plain weave today. So, let's see where to start. Right here. This is something called a zoom loom, and it is. Let's see here. Oh, looks like chat's working. Anyway, this is a zoom loom, and in the notes for this video, you will find that there is a link to purchase a zoom loom if you're interested in looking at them from a website, actually an indie dyer who is a representative who sells this equipment, who I've worked with in the past. So if you're interested in looking into getting a zoom loom, they cost roughly about $50, but it's a good place to start if you want to learn to weave and you want to do sort of a cost-effective slash way to use your scrap yarn. I know a lot of us crafters out there have a ton of scrap yarn, and so we always need to find projects for that. And this is a fantastic way to use up some of that scrap yarn. It's also really good with hand spun yarn. So if any of you out there are hand spinners, it's really fantastic. Or if you just happen to be the type of person who likes to be surprised by maybe the way some of your yarn that you have in your stash might turn out. Like, let's say you have a variegated yarn. This is also really fun for that. And think of it kind of in a way where you're dealing with what would be like granny squares, right? So typically, if you're a crocheter and you've made granny squares before, you end up with these 4-inch squares in general, and you go ahead and you can attach them all together. This is very much the same type of thing. So with that being said, they come in different sizes. This is the standard size. It's a 4-inch square, okay? And you can also find these type of looms if you're looking for a deal. If you have thrift stores nearby, I would say go ahead and look for something that's either labeled a Weave It loom or I'm trying to think of what other names they might come under, but they'll look similar to this, and it may be made out of wood. So, so this, like I said, this brand is called a Zoom Loom. It's made by the name I always have a hard time pronouncing, Shacked, and it costs roughly about $50. But if, like I said, if you're looking for a deal, check your thrift stores, check any place where you might be able to find old fiber tools. They also come in different sizes. So the Zoom Loom comes in the standard 4-inch. But if you're looking at some of the other looms, the ones that are made of wood, you can get them sometimes in 6-inch, 8-inch, and 2-inch. So here's an example of a 2-inch loom. And this particular loom I had gotten from my friend Tanya. She had a relative that had passed away, and it was in its original packaging, never been opened, probably from the 70s. Like, it still had a price tag on it and everything. So this is super old school. Like I said, check your thrift stores and see if you can find something. I believe there's also instructions out there to make your own. I imagine this is probably a lot like a picture frame loom where you could make it with a square. As long as you have the pins set up the same way as this is set up, and there are directions online to do that. So just in case you're looking for something that's a little bit more cost effective. So when you're working with these types of looms, you end up with squares, much like a granny square. And the fun thing about it is if you use different types of yarn, you really do get different effects. So for this particular project that I've been working on, and hopefully it's light enough in camera there, I am using two different types of yarn. The first yarn is this. So you can see it's all different colors. This was our Guild combo spin from, I guess it would be 2 years ago now. And basically when we're doing a combo spin, we all go in with little bits of 1 ounce bumps of fiber. We put them all down on a table for as much fiber as you bring. So let's say I brought 4 ounces of fiber. I will get 4 opportunities to go and get 1 ounce of fiber. So basically what we've done in this is I lucked out and I ended up getting a lot of colors that are very vintage Christmas. So you see there's like a tomato orange, and I have some hot pink in here. I have a very pale pink, a light green. There's a little bit of, maybe that's the same color green. There's a little bit of sparkle, not much, but it is very mid-century modern type Christmas. So I had this ball of yarn and I wasn't sure what to do with it because I'm like, it's Christmas, it's going to be a Christmas themed, situation. And I had sat on it for a while, not really knowing what I wanted to do. And then I took a class in these looms and was like, okay, this is the perfect idea for this. So basically what I ended up doing was I ended up spinning, this is Oink Pigments Cumulus in like, I don't even know what the colorway is called, but it's in this like aqua tealy kind of color because I thought that also screams mid-century Christmas. And I decided to combine the two together. So with these two yarns, here's one of the squares. But depending on where I was in the variegation of this yarn, I would start getting different effects. So as you can see here, here's one that has a lot of green and aqua in it. Here we're getting more into the hot pinks. And with this one here, most of it is hot pink. A lot of these color differences too will depend on how you decide to warp your loom here. So there are a couple different ways to do this. And the way I'm going to show you today is we're going to do a plain weave. And with the plain weave, I'm going to do the warp pass. So when we're doing corners 1, 2, and 3, as you can see here, hopefully you can see that in camera. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are my corners. Right here where the notch is where I will thread the beginning of my yarn and I will start to do my warp pass. So for this particular example, I grabbed some really pretty hand spun yarn I have here. And this particular one, it was really pretty, but I probably won't use it for a project because I was soaking it with some other yarn, and as you can see, there was some bleed on it, which is tragic, but I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons. So I wound some of it off, and what I'm gonna do is I'll do the warp pass with this. So what you do is you start down at number 1 here in this corner, and you're going to put your yarn into this notch, and oh, whoops. It doesn't always stay. I should probably hold it. And so there's my yarn. And the first pass, I'll try to hold this as steady as possible. On the Zoom loom, which is super, super helpful, there are arrows. So you know exactly where the first pass of your warp is going to go based on where the arrow is. And so you're going to go into this first. So see, it's on this side of that first peg. You're going to take it all the way to the back. And it's right up against these right here. You're going to go around the 2. And you're going to come back down in between these 4. So I have 2 separating it here, 2 separating it here. Okay. And you'll notice that a lot of these are in groups of 3 with a notch or gap between them. Okay, so for this next pass, I'm going to go around these 2 pins right here. Move my thumb so you can see. We're going to go around those 2 pins, and we're going to go in between pins 1 and 2 on the opposite side. So pretend there was like a pin right there, okay? It would still be 2 pins apart. All right, so you continue that all the way down. Make sure it's in camera, sorry. All the way down. I like to anchor my yarn with my finger, so hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing, even though my fingers might be getting in the way. Okay. Oh, my corgi just came over to sit by me. I always got to be careful of her because sometimes she likes to get under my chair, and this chair has wheels. I imagine a lot of people who have cats probably have to worry about that. Okay, so we've gotten to the end here. Here's the last 4 pins up here in this corner. I've gone in between pins 1 and 2. I'm going to go around pins 2 and 3, and then down here. And here in this corner, it's probably pretty hard to see, but there's a line where number 2 is that comes in between these 2 pins and then goes around and right through here. So that's what we're going to do. We started at corner number 1. Now we're going to turn the loom and we're going to start at corner number 2. So we're going to go just as the directions here have it, around these 2 pins, in between these 2 sets of pins where the gap is. And then we're going to go in between pins 1 and 2, and then continue that pattern of going around 2 pins. So here it's around pins 2 and 3, here around pins 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. So if you're a visual person, hopefully the visual of me warping this makes sense. But if you're not and you go by numbers, think of it this way. On pass 1, you're going to go, let's see, between pins 1 and 2, and then around 2 and 3. Like I said, now we're in 2 and 3 for pass 2. Usually I'm just like, visual, what looks like it makes sense. And the fact that the Zoom loom itself, like the wooden looms don't usually have this, but this particular Zoom loom does have the arrows on it, makes it super easy if you happen to forget how to warp the loom. The arrows are right there to tell you where you start, and then it's really easy to pick up after that. It's just like riding a bike. There's some of that green. Okay, so now I've warped all the way across. This was pass number 2. Now there's number 3. So I'm going to turn, this is usually what I do. I'm going to turn it back this way. So here are corners 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to just come back down this way. Okay. So thankfully the handy dandy arrow shows me that I am now going to be going in between these passes. So where I went around these 2 pins, I'm going to go in between them. And in between them there. And any of you who have woven before will see, oh, wait a minute. Okay, this makes sense. You're filling in those gaps on this 3rd pass. And the cool thing is, like, you look at this and you're like, wait a minute, like, how is this going to work? And then once you do the 4th pass, it locks everything into place. So we're going around for our 3rd pass here. Now, in order to make it easier to see, okay, there, we're at the end of our 3rd pass. So now, for some of these squares, I don't know if you can tell from this, maybe this one would be easier. So for this particular square here, you can see that it's more pink than it is the aqua. So what I had done with this particular square is I warped it exactly like I warped this. And then for my fourth pass where I start to weave, I changed the color. So you could keep going in the same color. However, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be very readable on this camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this end right here. And we're going to call it a day on that one. And then I have this other hand spun here. I don't even know. This came from a cognitive fiber retreat. I don't know how many years ago. It's somebody's hand spun. Let's see. The one string, Brandy Bruce. I don't know if she's still around. Oh, this was from CFR 5, you guys. It is Foggy Rainbow in pink. So it's got a lot of brown in it. Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but we'll see. Okay, so when figuring out, let me just kind of lock this one down here. I have these. I don't know if anybody else just like raids the rest of their craft stash to find tools that will help them in whatever they're doing. I'm a huge fan of having all kinds of clips and tools and stuff, and in a future video, I'm going to show you how I use the, you know, the tube turners for sewing, how I use those for this weaving loom. But for now, I have this weird clip, and what I can do is I can go ahead and clip this here just to hold it for now. Because if you're going to change colors, sometimes you just want to know, like, okay, what can I get away with here? Can I just stick this down for a second? Because the next step is going to be a little fiddly. And so that's what I use these clips for. I'm sure you can probably find them at any hardware store. They probably came from like Lowe's or, you know, one of those places. Okay, so here's my other yarn. I'm doing it in a different color, so hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. And the rule of thumb is when you're figuring out how much you need to weave through, I've read different numbers. I always like to be cautious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it 5 times. I've seen some people do 4, 4.5. I think 5 times is probably the safer bet. Yes, maybe you might waste a little bit of yarn, but in the long run, it's better than running out, because then you're going to be really sad. So then basically what you do is you very gently, without pulling it too taut, because you don't want to like stretch out your yarn and then find it goes and then next thing you know you don't have enough yarn for your last pass. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought this was going to be more pink. I was going to be like very little twin stars of me, but it's not that pink on the inside. It like looks kind of weird and yellow and brown. It's weird. Okay, so that's 5 passes around the loom. And it's a good rule of thumb that that should be enough for me to be able to go through that last pass, okay? So I have my yarn. I've cut the end. Let's hope that, you know, it goes through. It should. It'll be fine. Okay, so now when you buy a Zoom loom, you may not get these with the wooden looms if you find them at a thrift store or whatever, but you can probably get these needles online, or if you have a local craft store. These are like long weaving needles, I guess. You could probably use them for tapestry weaving. The Zoom loom itself comes with these two needles, and you can see they're 2 different sizes. So that's what I have in here. I also carry around, like I said, it comes with a bag. I don't have the box anymore, but I've thrown all kinds of stuff in here. Usually it comes with an extra pin if you need to replace one of these pins, because I can tell you it's really easy to bend them. I also have some DPNs in here in case I need a straight piece. I have a crochet hook that I got in some kit and a couple of smaller needles, because I also do carry these in a case with my 2-inch loom. So I have all that. And if you have any of these laying around and you have a Zoom loom, for one of my future videos, I would say get these out because I'm gonna show you how to use them. Okay, so grab one of your needles. You're gonna go ahead and, let's see if I can thread this one. I seem to always gravitate towards the thinner, longer needle. So what you can do, like I said, handy dandy little hardware store clips are fantastic for this type of thing. I already got this in a knot. Yikes. Let me clean it up a little bit. So now I can take this. Some people will tie it together here on the end. I'm not a big fan of that because I really hate picking knots out. It's just the worst. So what I can do is I can either use this clip. I've got, you know, these handy dandy clips do come in handy too. One of these little sewing clips, so you can just kind of clip it together right there. That way you can, you know, stick it down. All right. And so I've got these two here. This is a W. This is for your weave. This is the fourth corner. And again, like I said, with this particular loom, there is an arrow that I don't know whether you can see it on camera, but it's an arrow that goes directly right here. So the point of this is you want to weave. You're going to go over this bit that's on the outside of the pins, under, over, under, and continue this as I try to look at this and not bang my head against the camera. Sorry guys. All the way across. And like I said, if you have like extra yarn at home and you just want to like use up your spare stuff, you know, mix different colors together and see what kind of effect you get, because it is really cool. And I will say with this particular project that I've been working on, I mean, it's been sitting for a little bit. Here, these last ones, sometimes you need to manipulate, so it's good to stick your hand in there and just kind of make sure you can move that needle. There we go. Okay. So I've woven over, under, all the way across. And then I'm going to pull that through. Sorry about my dogs. Hopefully you can't hear that. They're playing and they're having a really good time. But they can be a little obnoxious because they always want to do stuff while I'm busy. Okay, so there we go. And actually, I'm going to grab my other one here. Also, too, if you don't have these clips, washi tape works fantastic. Any kind of Scotch tape. You will end up, hi guys, you will end up with probably Scotch tape. I have some of it stuck to my loom too, but it works. So, hey, if it works for you, go for it. Now, when I'm weaving, I do the type of thing where I'm right-handed, obviously. So I've gone from right to left for this pass. I'm going to turn it around and I'm just going to keep going right to left. If you want to do it another way, that's cool too, but this is what works for me. So hopefully if you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, I'm not entirely sure. If you happen to be left-handed, let me know how you do it. But so this, we're going to go through the second pass now. So we're going to go in between 2 and 3 where this yarn's wrapped around, and we're going to go over, under, all the way across. And don't be afraid to get your fingers in there and manipulate your yarn if it makes it easier for you to pass your needle through. Sometimes, depending on how tight you've maybe warped your stuff, or the closer you get to the end of this particular square, you're going to find that the needle doesn't want to play nice. These needles are a little bendy. So, and if that's the case too, change to the thicker needle if it's a little less bendy for you. Okay, so now I'm going to pull that through. This color is so weird. Just pull, 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 pull. There we go. And then if you want, use your needle to like zhuzh some stuff up. You'll see too as you're going through that sometimes, because you're not supposed to warp it like super tight, you don't want to do that. Like I said, it's just gonna like suck up. That these following warps might start like squeezing in together, in which case just go in and start, you know, poke them apart, manipulate them however you can, so you have plenty of space to go through. So I'm going to spin it again. Whoopsies. Spin it again. Go through here. And now that you've seen me do the first two passes, I don't feel so bad about putting my fat fingers in your face here. Because I will get in there and manipulate stuff and move things around, and usually like I have this thing right in my face. You know, where you're trying to be really, really cautious to make sure that you're not going to stab yourself in the face with a needle. Ask me how I know. Okay, so there we go. See how that one moved down? It's all about, you know, you can just fix it up once you go through. It's really forgiving. We'll pull this through. And like I said, you know, do what's comfortable for you. Are you right-handed? Are you left-handed? I mean, obviously the principle, you want to keep that, you know, the same, but you can hold this thing any way you want as long as you're getting the same result. You know, find what is good and ergonomic and comfortable for you personally. Okay, so here we go again, and you're going to continue this all the way across. And I feel like I should be chatting with you guys while I do this. Normally, if I were sitting with my friends, which I am sitting with my friends, I'd be like, oh my God, did you feel that earthquake last night? Holy crap. Did not like. It's real windy here today. My hair is very fluffy. You know, whatever things I'm thinking about while I'm doing this. The cool thing about fiber arts is that a lot of us do it while we're having chats with people and we can talk and, you know, discuss stuff, discuss life. So, okay, here we go. So on to the next bit. And so one of the things that I will say, little warning, if you're just starting to try this, like I said, don't be afraid to get your fingers in there and manipulate your warp if you need to with whatever needle you choose. Don't be afraid to go look for tools at thrift stores and antique shops and estate sales, because you know there's a lot of people out there who are older and have done these fiber crafts for a really long time. And you know, once these people pass away, that's how I got this one. They have a lot of tools, and unfortunately I find that many people now, unless you're like super into knitting or whatever, and want to try some other kind of yarn craft, that goes for crocheters too, but usually the case is, you know, a knitter out there. This is what happens with me a lot, or a crafter out there. Somebody's relative inevitably dies, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, Stacy, hey, my mom died and she left me all these sewing machines, and do you want them? Sure. Or hey, this person died and we have knitting machines, do you want them? Okay. Like, people have a tendency to sort of seek you out and see if you or somebody else you know might need some fiber tools It's a lot easier than just going online and trying to figure out how you're going to sell all that stuff, because most of the time you don't know what type of state it's in or what have you. But I know that I do have a lot of people who come to me and offer me tools that I then pass on to people who need them. So that's always helpful. And then some tools I do keep for myself, and perhaps learn some new fiber arts. And recently, I just received from my aunt that she found in my grandmother's sewing kit a tatting shuttle. I don't know how to tat. I did try to learn once, and I didn't have somebody around to show me. I think that's part of it. Like, when you're new to a fiber art, sometimes you just don't know where to look, and that was definitely the case. But now that I have my grandmother's tatting shuttle, I think I'm gonna try to learn how to do that, and which might be a little bit difficult. Like, I won't be able to use any of my yarn because I do like to spin lumpy bumpy yarn and not smooth yarn, which is something you would need for tatting, or smooth like pearl cotton or something. But for many people who maybe don't have a good thriving fiber community near them, Joann's is going out of business, so maybe stock up on some of your crafting supplies. Okay, so here we go. There, I'm halfway through. And like I said, with each pass, it gets a little bit tighter. So like when you start getting to the end, it gets pretty tight. You're gonna have to go in there and manipulate stuff. Also too, an idea is, if you have hand spun yarn and commercial yarn scraps, use them together. See what you're gonna come up with. I know that for my particular project that I'm doing with the squares that I made, I'm going to be using an actual commercial yarn in like a cream color to attach them together. I have not yet, but I will very soon, figure out how I'm going to attach them together, because there are different methods. Some people just attach them like you would a granny square and crochet them together. I may crochet them together, but a little bit more open, whatever that means. Oh, this guy's being real bendy right now. I could switch to the other needle, and that probably would solve that problem. A lot of times when I use this loom, I am using lighter weight yarn. I don't want to say this is super thick. I mean, I guess it's slightly thicker than worsted weight, or is a worsted weight. I'm used to using a lot of lighter weight yarns, like fingering weight yarns. I also have some dog hair in here, so I'm usually picking that out of all of my fiber stuff. Oh yeah, the thicker needle does work better for this one because this is thicker yarn. But you're still going to have to like manipulate it at the end here, because when you're sticking these in, they do kind of want to go to an angle. Like the warp itself is like going to push it that way, and so get in there. Yeah, you might ruin your manicure, but it'll be worth it. And as you can probably see, I don't know how well you can see it on camera, I have needle scratches in between all these different things. And that's the thing about having something that's plastic. But yeah, but I will say this, I'm a big fan of the Zoom loom. I am very appreciative that it has those corners on it. As somebody who has to relearn techniques that they've learned multiple times over and over again, if I'm not using it every day, it just doesn't stay in my brain. So this is a good way to just have those reminders there saying, hey, this is where you need to go. Okay, so there's another pass. And as you can see, sometimes you might loop around another peg, just pick it off and move it around and move your stuff. Okay, so another tip, and this might depend on the type of project you're doing, but in general, I find it's a good rule of thumb. When you're weaving these squares, weave in the ends before you take them off the loom. I don't know what the general consensus is on a lot of that, but I know for me personally, it makes life so much easier. Oh, here, wait. What, the yarn I'm using is probably a good worsted, and I know that you know me and know that this is not in general the type of yarn that I use. So I grabbed it from my bin. It is doable. And specifically the yarn that I spun out of your fiber, Nicole, is heavier than a worsted weight, but it is like you have to do some manipulation to get it through. You know, the closer you get to the end, the more it wants to just kind of like be a real pain and fight with you on it. But that's okay. Like, sometimes you have to do that. I also imagine that if you have the skills and the tools, you could probably make one of these with wider pegs and use it for like bulky weight yarn. That actually might be really cool. I do not have, I mean, I have skills, but I don't know that I have all the tools to make something like that. I know we have some friends who do have skills and tools. So that might be something to try even. You know, they do make different types of looms, and those looms have just bigger spaces in between the pegs. Yeah, see how it's getting real. Like, oh no, we're gonna fight you now. This is where it gets real. But I've done DK weight on these, and I don't think I had a problem. I think that I want to say maybe this is like an Aran weight. This aqua stuff, like, it was real pretty, you guys. It was a real shame that I washed it with something that decided to bleed all over it. I was real sad, and I don't know what I was thinking at the time. Apparently I wasn't thinking. And it just got like this bright Kelly green in just a couple spots, just enough to basically ruin the skein of yarn. So I figured with this, I mean, I don't know, you could probably use these for just about anything, right? But maybe if you use small amounts, then it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so here I'm gonna do my last pass, and as you can see, this is real tight, right? Because you've got this goofy little corner. See if I can get that. See how close those are together? So this is going to be where I really fight with this, and I'm going to be really sad because I just painted my nails today. You're going to go over, under, all the way across. And you are going to fight with it because you want to make sure you don't accidentally go and pop these off the end. You'll probably be pretty sad if you do. Sorry, I keep like headbutting my camera. All right, and then yeah, you just want to be kind of careful not to pull any of these off the edge here. Make sure you're actually getting around the yarn and not through it, because that's what I'm doing right here, because those are really close together. There we go. Oop. And it is tight. I can't lie. It is real snug. If you have a problem, here's what I'm going to recommend. Over, let's see, under, over, under. Get your fingers in there. Over, under. Let's see. Oh, that doesn't want to work. Let's do a little surgery. Get in there, push it down. Over, under. Check me out. There we go. Heavier than DK weight. Just saying. And as you can see, I squeeze it through, but I do have plenty of stuff at the end here. Okay. So, oh my gosh, you're done. Not quite. Not quite. So now you've got these 4 ends. What do you do now? Well, like I said, I recommend that you take the ends and you weave them in before you pop it off the loom. Okay? Ooh, this one's gonna be so snug. Where do I think it's gonna look good going through? Well, I think what I'm gonna do is I am gonna do the same path as the previous. See how this one is going through like that? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go like this, and notice my tail is kind of short, so I'm just weaving the end of the needle in like this. And you could go all the way across, but you don't necessarily have to. I imagine that if you decide that, I'm gonna wrap it around this bag though. If you decide that you're gonna crochet the ends together and you're gonna go around the perimeter of these squares, nobody's really gonna notice that you've decided to weave your end in. And as you can see on mine, you can see where I've woven my ends here, but my intention is I'll have crochet on the ends, and that might squeeze some of that together, and I don't really think anybody cares. Like, it's a woven piece, let's be real. And it's handmade, so you do you, boo. All right, so I'm gonna pull this through. You can see there goes the tail. And I'm gonna just wrap it around this corner peg here so I don't necessarily like yank it through and like cinch this end in. I wanna make sure it's got a little anchor there. So we're just gonna keep it like that. Does it look good? Yeah, it's fine. No one cares. All right, and then, let's do this guy here. I have a tendency to like try to take an end and weave them in all directions, but the way I did this, like, you know, so I have an end woven in on each end. You don't have to do that. What you can do is see, like, I've got these guys right here, these 2 ends. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this guy around this before I go and do any of this stuff, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to yank it and pull that particular piece of the, you know, woven piece in. Here, let's do that. I'm going to weave this one in halfway. Oh, my little anchor came off. It's my anchor pin. And you don't have to do this. I mean, if you want to eyeball it and be like, I'm just not going to yank on this, that's cool too. I don't trust myself to not yank something and turn it like all crazy. So here's one. I wove it in halfway. Here's the other side. So let me grab this. And I'll go around that peg there. Like I said, I like to put it around the corner pegs so that I'm not yanking the hell out of it and making a huge mess. Later on, I can show you how to yank something and make it into something 3-dimensional. if everybody's into that. Okay, so there we go. There's both of my ends right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them. There you go. There's 2 ends down. This end I already wove in. We'll cut that guy off. And then we've got this end here. And in the grand scheme of things, like, I mean, I don't know how long it takes to do a granny square. This might take a little bit longer depending on your yarn. If you're using fingering weight yarn, you'll probably be knocking them out in like no time flat. Like, this is me struggling with scrap yarn that might be a little too thick for this, but whatever. Boop, there we go. Here's a square, it's completed. Then you push on the bottom. There it is. It's a little wonky, needs to be blocked, but yeah. Oh, okay. So now where can you use this? All right. You can use this for many different things. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but granny square vests seem to be a big thing recently. So you could, in theory, put a bunch of these together and make yourself a garment. I personally am going to be taking these squares and I am going to be putting them together to make a shawl. I have different types. You know what? Here, let me show you. I'll show you some baby ones because then you can see everything in camera. So I made all these squares with the intention of, oh, hot pad. I think that depends on what type of yarn you use. I would not use acrylic for a hot pad. That screams melty mess of plastic. But what you can do is you can attach them together. You can make a blanket. You can attach them together and make a shawl, which is my intention. So what I did was I made a bunch of pieces. I'm going to do this with the babies. That's not exactly how this is going to go, but I made some bias pieces that I can attach and make a shawl out of. These particular small ones I made so I have a stuffed frog that I'm making a matching shawl for me and my frog. So these are for my frog. But there are different patterns you can use, much like granny squares. And I think I showed these briefly last time. I don't remember because my brain hurts. But you can do twill. Like I said, this is the plain weave. Let me find a good one that you could really see that pops. Here's one. Houndstooth. And then plaid done on the bias. And then you can mix these all together. Now I will say this, if you're planning on trying to mix different patterns together, I'm hoping there's going to be a level of structure that happens with the crocheted joins. I'm not so much worried about these particular squares as I'm wondering how these are going to turn out, because like these, I mean, yeah, they're stretchy, but they basically hold their shape a little bit better. These on the bias feel a little loosey-goosey. But with that being said, I think if you were to contain them in between other types of squares, then it would have more structure. It'd be more structurally sound. And you wouldn't have that weird, like, you can see like, ooh, it doesn't stretch quite like the other one does, you know, like with these, you can stretch from the corners. This, you could stretch from the middle, right? So you know that this has a different type of it's different structurally than the other ones. But I think if you're able to surround them by, you know, some of these other patterns, then it will maintain its squareness better. And for the particular shawl that I plan on making, it's going to be done as a triangle shawl with, these are a little wrinkly because they've been sitting in a Ziploc bag waiting for me to attend to them. So that I will end up with a true triangle when I put these together. Instead of having these notches out on one side, I made these to fill in those notches. So it'll be a triangle shaped shawl with, you know, these notches filled in. So, like I said, I have a bag full of all the squares that I've made. I want to say I have approximately 91 squares in total, and 13 or 14 of these guys to put together to make just a massive, like, comfy shawl. And then my intention, because I don't have enough of these yarns left, obviously, to attach them, is to use just a commercial yarn, a commercial cream colored yarn, to attach them together. I think that's going to be like the best course of action for me. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see how it goes. But another example, now that I've shown you how to do this plain weave, and like I said, when you do these weaves, you can do them all the same color if you want, or you can get, yes, you can repair a hole in a pair of jeans with them. These would be especially good or something like that. You can attach them to clothing. You know what? Let me show you something cool. On the internet, there are different ways for you to turn these into other things. So like, let's say you're not a blanket person, but you want to make one of these. I hope this is going to work, because this particular one's real dense. It was much more dense than the other ones I have here, and I don't want to ruin any of those. This one I don't care about. What you can do is, let's say you like to make accessories, barrettes, what else besides barrettes? Pins, brooches. You know, there's a million different things you can make with the stuff. One of the tricks, if you want to try and make something like that, if you're into flowers, let's see if this works. Find, I didn't practice this, guys. Find a stitch in the center and pull it. Hopefully this will be the price of admission. You now have a flower. You can put beads inside it. You can grab another one and do this and have like double petals. Like literally you can make anything out of this little sculptural piece. But there you go. There's a little flower, and all I did was pull on two of the center pieces here. There's also a way, if you pull on an end. Let's see, do I have another one in here? Oh, I don't. Oh wait, yeah, I do. Let's try this. This one, you can see I didn't weave the end in on. It's a red one, very loosey-goosey. You can see me and my light stuff. Yeah, I got a bunch of these. You can make, let's see, you can make Christmas tree ornaments, which I've made. You can fold them in half and then stitch them up. So, and then just layer them one on top of another. You can make a Christmas tree. Or, see. I think I might need to just do this. I think if you pull on one end, maybe not. Oh, maybe this needs to come too. If you pull on one end, you should, in theory, maybe I didn't do this one that well, but you should, in theory, be able to make a leaf. Yeah, I don't know what I did here. Oof. Make a little leaf. Let's see if I can do one of these. Maybe if I don't do it from that end. The tiny loom that I have, I really, really like. It's a lot of fun. Oh, yep. Yes, no? Oh my gosh, it's so loosey-goosey. I'd have to zhuzh it up a little bit, but clearly you can see I don't really mind like messing my stuff up. There is a way to make a leaf. I want to say you pull on an end, but clearly I'm not pulling on the right end because it is coming out all weird. But yeah, like you can, I mean, do whatever you want, right? Who cares? It's all about experimentation. Here, I'm going to make this one into a flower because they really do look better as flowers anyway. Here's my little bitty flower. And these were just from little bits and bobs I had laying around. And I guess maybe I was thinking I was going to make some stuff out of these, but yeah, who knows? So there you go. There's a little flower. But definitely this one is more structurally sound. Yeah, so that's the plain weave. That would be like pretty awesome. You can stick it in your hair, like that. Stick some beads in there, do some felting, make some leaves for it. That would be super fun. So there you go. So I think that next time what I can do is I can show you something other than plain weave. I can do houndstooth, and I'm gonna show you one more thing before we go. But I can do houndstooth or twill or one of those. We'll figure it out when we get there. So I had mentioned earlier about Nicole's yarn. As you can see, this is really thick. It's art yarn, and I ran out of one color, so I had to start using another color and mixing it with black. And while sometimes it is a struggle to do, the results are really cool. So here you go. That's what those look like. And I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with these yet. I have a bag of like 50 of them. I have some books that I got for Christmas. Let me see if I have them over here. I don't know if I do. I got some books that are whatchamacallit, that are weaving books. No, I don't have them over here. Okay, so I have some books that are weaving books, and I can bring them out next time, that actually have garments that are made with these types of things. So despite the fact that I wasn't able to get as many as the shawl, and let's be real, 91 squares is a lot, and I don't know how big this shawl is going to be. I'm thinking like Stevie Nicks level shawl. But for this, I think maybe I could probably find something in that pattern book to make with it and have it turn out really cool. And it's nice and it's sparkly. I don't know how well that turns out on camera, but these are really great, and they don't feel super dense. Like, I don't know, they're just fantastic because Nicole makes fantastic fiber. So this is a lot of fun spinning for me. Yeah, so that's about it for today. And next time maybe we'll do bias stuff, and I can show you how to do this and how to use those tube